Amazing. All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody, to the Inside Hustle interview series. This is where we bring unfiltered soul truth, big frequency truth bombs, all the fun stuff around the multidimensional galactic space, maybe pushing the boundaries of you and your consciousness a little way, and also really grounded into this experience on the planet right now. And today I have a very special guest with me, Mandy Horton, who is a friend and peer, and she is a beautiful, beautiful soul who's come across my path quite a few times in the last sort of like decade since I've been back in New Zealand. And
Mm.
she's just a radiant soul sister and also works in that beautiful galactic and multidimensional space. Mandy is a light and energy intuitive, cellular memory practitioner, a creator of the Harmony Method, and she's also here walking as a council ambassador, anchoring wisdom for these times through her transmissions, Temple of New Earth gatherings, and beyond. And so this is going to be more than an interview, more than it's probably going to be an activation, a remembering. And so, welcome, Mandy. Thank you for being here with us and opening into the space.
Oh, thank you so much for all of that. That was really beautiful.
Uh,
And yes, such a pleasure to be here with you. And we've always enjoyed good chats. So I'm sure this will be another one to enjoy.
yeah. So, I mean, just before we kind of hit record, we were sort of, there is so much going on right now. It's exciting, it's powerful, it's cutting edge in so many ways. And, I wanted to hear a little bit from you about where you're at because I love keeping these interviews quite current in the energy. What's popping now? What's moving? What are you noticing that's really coming up in the collective that is just in your experience as well?
Mm. Oh my goodness, where do I start? And that's absolutely true about so much going on. It's like I think a lot of people are very overwhelmed with how this is all moving for them. A lot that I know and work wise don't really get what's happening and trying to make sense of it all. Once it gets explained, bigger picture, there's this calming that comes in and goes, "Oh my God, I'm not going crazy. I'm not, because there's just so much, and there's so much prompting to let go of so much as well. And a lot of people are really afraid of what that means. And so there's these quite a few, that possum stuck in headlight, that's just that frozen. A theme that I have been definitely noticing is how many people are not happy with their lives for one reason or another or multiple. I want to say like relationships or jobs or just the environment they're living in is not where they want to be, all these things, but yet are not actioning. And now is a really action time. Like
Yeah.
it's really time to action. We've had lots of time to gather information, to be reminded about who we are, what we're doing here on the planet. All that has been such a big, huge pump over multiple years now, and now it's time to actually action what you really desire to come into your life rather than just keep cycling in that same old, same old, same old, same old, being unhappy but not really changing anything.
Mm.
And it does take courage, and I understand that. I mean, God, I've had to do it many, many times throughout my life, but because I had my higher perspective, because I always look more at the higher or the bigger picture,
Mm.
that was what motivated me. That was what I knew I was here to do. And if I didn't walk that path, then why did I bother coming in? So I've always been a bit gung ho, actually, a bit too gung ho, to, wanting to just absolutely gun it and
Yeah.
run when it's been time to just hang on a minute, just wait. So for many years, Spirit have had, been training me in patience
Mm.
and realizing, when you really come back to energy frequency and you get how energy actually really works here, what we are about, then you realize that there is a time. There's a perfect time in everything that we're doing, and that if we try to force it, manipulate it, it just backfires on us. And there's just such an energy that has to be, conjured up to try and get it to work, when it actually is just let it be, and it'll shift itself, in good time. But we're not
Absolutely.
used to doing that. We think we have to drive everything and plan everything and be motivated and activated and moving, when really now it's more about the being. It's more about just doing the inner, being like, I'm going more internal now than, in that insular, quiet communication, than really moving too much out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting because it is such a shift of the way that we have been conditioned into this reality and into,
Yeah.
really forgetting the truth of who we are and how our being in every way operates. And what
Yeah.
you're talking about is that gap where, people are understanding it's not working, but
Mm.
yet they don't know actually, well, why isn't it working? Well, it's because we're operating not the way that our body, vehicle, and technology is set up to operate at all.
No.
So then it's like, oh, life's really hard. And then it's like, well, what do I do? Like to get over
Yeah.
into the place that you're talking about, which is about the beingness. It's about sinking into those deepest spaces that you allow stillness, which I had to do at the beginning of this year, actually. I
Mm.
really had to take a step back, pause, not much was coming in. And it's so interesting now, I can retrospectively look back and be like, oh, I totally understand what was going on now. I was
Yeah.
space for this other thing to come in, but I had to sit with myself and you're not doing anything. Well, you're not doing enough sessions and you're not bringing in money. And how are you going to pay your bills? And why are you
Yeah.
ranting around in Northland and blah, blah, blah. And it was like that voice that was really the voice of old paradigm kind of structure of society that was in the little, at me. And I had to really just be like, I love you. Thank you. I'm going to bring you here. And
Yeah.
coming back into the trust and the knowing that this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing right now. But we have the discomfort in that because it's not familiar. It's not a familiar
No,
way to go through life.
it's not.
Yeah.
We taught to plan, and even now there's a lot of vision boarding stuff coming back up. It's like, yep, okay, that's all good, because it's all good to do that. But
Mm.
and there is a time that you action it. But when you're trying to push it, when you're trying to make it happen before it's time to happen, that's when you start getting the friction and that, it makes it really difficult. But it is that, even I'll bring up the COVID thing, right? When we were in the COVID time, everyone's like, but it's it was such an eye-opener for so many people, and it was such a big, huge awakening for a lot of people, and realizing this world has been an illusion. And we
Mm.
knew that, but that really cracked it wide open in many ways. But one of the things was that there was so much battle going on. Everyone felt like, okay, there's so much on the planet going on right now, even it's still continuing, and it had been for quite a while before COVID anyway, where there was a lot going on that people didn't agree with. I don't like this, I don't like that. Everything became a division in judging. Whether I like that, or that's too much, that's not enough. Oh my God, that color's blue, and I love this color. Everything was all about judgment and opinion and perspective in many ways. But what I saw was a lot of battle, and there's still that battle going on today. And what I wanted to scream out at everyone. And then it was like, they're not going to hear from this place that they're standing in right now, because they were involved in that battle and really, really deeply entrenched in it. But for me, what it was just sit and be. Don't give it energy.
Totally.
Be and bring you back to you.
Mm.
And actually just be here. You can change anything from your lounge chair.
Mhm.
It doesn't always take action to do that, right? We're actioning even in that energy movement within. We're actioning something. We're creating some change within that's creating this external out here. to shift.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was just seeing was such friction. Everything was being pushed up against, and yes, it was a time of mass information, and that there created again all that division and judgments around everything and all the thing. And I used to say to people, what would happen if we had no judgment? If we actually live life without judging anything, if we could just purely look at something and not narrate, oh gosh, that tree's a bit bent over there, or wonder why it's growing that, have that narration going on where we're just continually chattering and judging something on its appearance, the way it's acting out, whatever it might be. If we had none of that, what would we be doing? And it comes back to experiencing.
Yeah.
And experiencing is what we came in to do. We are here in this form to experience being in this form and bringing more awareness of who we truly are in this form.
Mm.
And if we all just did that, that would massively shift
Yeah.
our whole environment around us, the whole structure of things. And that is where a lot of people now are coming more into as I'm watching this unfold. More and more people are realizing that actually, energetically, if I'm battling this, I'm actually empowering it to be there. I'm empowering something that I don't even want there by
Totally.
giving it life force energy. If
Yep.
I'm in that space, I'm giving it life force energy, and therefore it is here, and it's going to absolutely expand, because
Yep.
the more you put in, the more somebody else might put in, the more it's going to grow and be more of.
Yep.
And so, in my whole realization many years ago around how the body heals itself, and that's always been my push, and not my push, but that's my passion in bringing through my walk here more so.
Yeah.
And so, in that realization around how our body works and what our natural healing ability is within it, and in breaking many bones over my life, as a way out, like every single thing we have that is illness or disease it has actually got a secondary gain to it. There's something we gain from it, from being here, with everything it is. And so, in breaking bones throughout my body, 17 odd different bones throughout my life, I realized that that was because I was using it as a way out of people bullying me. So, whenever there was a bully or an abuser around me, I'd break a bone, they'd leave me alone.
Mm.
So, unconsciously, I was doing that, and having that happen was giving me peace, right? So, when I started looking into that more, and then I realized if I'm breaking these bones, then I can actually repair them. And I repaired two broken toes. They were the two last bones that I broke. And I actually repaired them in a process and way and method that I have in my book, which is that method you were talking about that I created. And
Mm.
so all of that came more and more into flow for me. It was like, right, this is the power that we have. And the word power has been really tainted over this time in humanity and through time, because it's been abused. And so when anyone uses the word power, it's like, oh, because of that. And I'm moving that back in. I'm going, it's time for us to claim the power that we are, like actually. And for me, that is knowing that we can do so much here if we just still ourselves,
Yeah.
we just really understand who we actually are.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things that really came through for me, and I've been asked this many times, what do you think has been the awakening, or what is the awakening on the planet? I think for me, the feeling for me is that we've been always looking at who we are. Those of us who are searching, we've always been looking into, well, who am I? What am I? And even people that aren't on the trip we and you and I might have taken in our
Mm-hmm.
own way, they're still questioning, what is this bloody world about? What's this life about? So there's always that question going on. When you really dive into that and you understand more about who you actually are, that we're multidimensional, we have these powers within us and our being and awareness. And when I looked into what the awakening was through COVID, is that I saw that what happened there was that people woke up to actually having choice, even though they thought they didn't. Later on down the track, they realized they actually did. They actually
Mm.
had choice, and they made a choice, and whatever that choice was all good, whatever it was. But there was choice, and that all of a sudden it was identified amongst many, and I believe lots, that we were actually co-creating together. All of us co-creating together. We all co-created and created all of this that's been going on the planet forever. We're all a part of that. We are responsible for it. And everyone might be saying, oh, yes, but we've been controlled. We didn't know. No, we might not have known, but we have, and we might have been controlled, but that was because we didn't know quite exactly what was going on, but also that we didn't realize we had choice. So we've always been taught to do as you're told.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect your elders, don't say no because that's disrespectful. So we've always been compliant and saying yes to many, many different things throughout our growing up on the planet as a child through whatever age we might be. We're still learning that actually it's okay if I say no to that. I don't have to actually go ahead with that. So more and more people came to realize that we were co-creating together, but we were actually co-creating by default because we didn't realize that we were doing that. Then
Right.
there was this sudden realization that, hang on a minute, we've created all of this, and that actually I don't want this anymore. So then
Mm.
there was choice as to, okay, what do you want? If you
Mm.
don't want this, then what is it that you're actually wanting? And so therefore there was a more internal looking. People that had been, you know, housed together in the lockdowns realized that actually I really enjoy spending time with my kids and my wife now, or my wife and my husband and my kids. And I'm actually going to change my work schedule now, and I'm going to change the way I do this. And so many things got shifted and changed. And it
Yeah.
was an absolute blessing. We had to go there.
Mm.
And if we've been still, if we're still in that battle and you're listening to this, you know, best thing you could do for you and your family or this planet, the environment, everything is pull out, unplug, and start creating your own life here.
100%.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that in because, I think there is so much distraction, and taking sides in anything is part of that distraction and part of separation consciousness, which is still playing out on the planet. But and equally, this kind of um, choice in viewing reality as the fact that there are certain groups that are overpowering everybody else and controlling, as you kind of like touched on. And like that's the thing. I think that people can go down the rabbit hole with that stuff so deep. And it's not to say it's not happening or not true. I'm not saying that at all.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
it is also another form of huge distraction. And also, if you're energetically aligning with that storyline and narrative, how disempowering is that? Because there's an
Yeah.
element of your being that you're buying into by saying, I believe that. And so that's for me is where you've got to be careful. And I would love people who maybe are playing in that reality right now, because we just play in these different experiences
Yeah.
until we sort of get some new level of awareness and then we move out of it.
Mhm.
I think that that's something that is hugely prevalent still since COVID, especially, and as we move into these more chaotic times where things are unraveling at lightning speed and things are coming in, also like technology and things that are also creating certain amounts of fear or excitement or all of it, And
Yeah.
it's I think there's so many things that we could get distracted by or buy into that it's fine to kind of like be like, oh, I can see that out there, but how much of your time are you spending on that? And are you able to bring it back here and be creating, as you say, that life that is unique to your blueprint and soul signature, that is what's
Absolutely.
happening? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, like you're saying about the distractions, all of that is part of um the not saying no.
Yes.
A lot of that. And the choosing, again, choice, because there's so many people out there know, oh God, and they go on about how they're being controlled. Well, what are you doing about releasing yourself from that?
Right.
Like, actually, if you know it, You've
Mhm.
got a choice now whether you involve yourself in it or you don't. And I'm
Mm.
seeing so many who still involve themselves in it, knowing that, and do the big grizzle around that they're still being controlled and all the things that are going on. Well,
Yeah.
that is a choice. And this
Yeah.
is where, at this point in time now, planetary wise, we are in a separation, really. We're still moving out of, like the two worlds have come in, right? And they're overlapping.
Yeah.
And so now there's this movement that we're pulling away in a sense from that more and more, and the separation of those two worlds together. And what we had was we had a foot in one and well, foot in both for quite a long time. And then there's again choice. Okay, which world? And it got to it wasn't at the beginning of this year, it was more around the beginning, maybe of last year-ish. Gosh, it's gone so fast, but could have even been the year before. I was getting a really strong, okay, this is now what we need. When I'm talking about the Council of Many, I sit on the council, I go in, and I've been very aware of when I'm there, right? In that realm, sitting in council, we go over what's going on the planet and how humanity's rolling with it all. And then I have this awareness of what I'm to bring back and to start putting forward. And one
Mm.
of those points in there was that it was now time to choose which foot are you going to pull up and put into the, which
Yeah.
one are you going to bring up and step into completely into this one or that one. That we can't keep straddling both. That there's come a point where we have to really make a choice as to where we are going personally.
Yeah.
And so in that there, what we've now started doing, and just recently I'm seeing more of the new templates coming in around bodies even, like that there's um, it's sort of hard to put into words. I'll use words that everyone will know, but for me, it's like a holographic template. So when I'm looking at it, it's like seeing your hologram, and your hologram has graphics to it that are definitely sacred geometry, almost like planetary grid stuff, but they are your own design. And what I'm noticing with some is that, say we might have, the grid's all happening here, and then over here there's bits of it missing, right? Or there might be a few bits here that are missing. And what's happening is I'm seeing how those parts are to come in yet. That they're still building. Some are still building these. And I remember back in 2011, in the month of August, my light body was activated, and I was actually suspended out of my body for that month, and it was quite
Mm.
sort of worrying to start with until I got confirmation. I always ask questions. I've always been a real question girl. And so I'll get an answer and then I go, and what else? Is there anything else, and anything else from that, and it takes me into all these different, and that's where I get a lot of my information is by asking question. So I dived into that and I was questioning the whole thing, and it was I was getting shown what was happening. And what happened from that point on was once it brought myself in properly and activated my light body more in that descension, right? Because we're on an ascension descension.
Yeah.
This form is what we're bringing into ascension, and our higher light is coming in, descending in to meet us here. Um, and so in that, I could see if I looked at a plant out there, like if I'm looking at my palm out there, it's like I could see all of the journey that being had ever had in its
Right.
lifetimes, life existence, maybe, and forms. And so it was really like, whoa, for a start off.
Mm.
But that was after being suspended out of body for the month. It was like I was really just had enough energy to keep myself moving through a day, taking my daughter to school, picking her up, etc. Um, and people that were around me were like, Mandy, something's not right with you. You need to go to the doctor, go to the doctor. Something's not right. I'm going, no, it's all good. Just trust me. I know
Yeah.
I'm all good. But I did look after Ed because I wasn't fully activating. Anyway, it all went according to plan, apparently. And And then, and you just got to trust these things, which is something I've
Yeah.
always been able to do.
Hmm.
Um, And then from there, it was like driving a new body. And this is what I'm finding with people today. That's where they're up to. It's like learning how to drive a new vehicle because the vehicle has changed and it is changing. And
Mm.
so there's, as the planet, and we've got the overlap, so is our template here. And our biology, our form is trying to shift itself, which it is doing. And it's actually incredible how it's been doing that too, is shifting itself from what we were in our old memory pain body. So the
Mm.
pain, any pain in our body is a memory. It has a memory of something that's happened to it before, no matter whatever existence or wherever it might come from, it's had an experience of that somewhere before. And
Mm.
so everything has that memory to pain. And then, or pain has a memory to something. And so when we were moving this, we're moving out of the old story as our planet is doing. She also is moving out of her old story. And she's letting go and releasing a lot of what was holding her bound in her trauma and her wounding and all the things and the character that she was in that. And we're doing the same thing on our level of experiencing. And sometimes that's not comfortable. It really takes us into some big deep dives and some deep wounds, and it's extremely emotional and painful and all the things. And many times I'd be in there going, just not loving it at all. And the one thing you hear from people is go, just love it. It's got, such a lot to offer you. What? Love it.
I know.
It's so not that, but you learn to, because you know that it is shifting something, and you come through it and there's more freedom and there's more release, there's more lightness, there's a change in the way that you start seeing things around you, even, or experiencing change in the way that we, instead of react, we respond. And there's all these changes that happen, but in the moment of it, it's not comfortable. And this is where we're now in the space where many people are in different places, though, I have to say.
Mm.
Not everyone's doing the same thing, that is for sure.
Yeah.
And to be aware of and understand how, when you move out of your old story and you're letting go more of that wounding and all of the stuff that hooked you into all of that, round and round and round we went, then what happens is you come into a limbo. You're in that in between the two worlds, where you're not of the old anymore as much as you possibly can be, and you're still not and haven't, because we are creating in this newness, whatever that is, that world, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
um, and so there's a limbo, and people, and I know when I was in that limbo, I didn't like it at all, because there's no planning, there's no action, there's no, quite often, financial stuff coming in. There's no desire to do anything that you used to do. You don't even want to talk to the same people half the time. So much is in that you just don't really enjoy. It's a really weird space.
It is a weird space.
It is, and it's so uncomfortable, and it's not that, and you just can't see where from there. So it makes it even more comfortable, because we're often always seeing or planning ahead. We're
Mm.
never present, and that's where the limbo is. That's where the importance of being in limbo is that you come into a flat line. You actually lose a lot of your drive and enthusiasm, motivation, desires, all of it. You have nothing. And it's like a death. They showed me this before we even went anywhere near it, years before. And I'm going, but you're telling me we're going to live through all of this stuff that we've been in, all this pain and wounding and trauma. Then we move it on, we transmute it all, we get it all sorted out, and we come into flatline, we die. And they laughed. They go, no, it's not like that. You're going to be in this space where there is nothing other than be present in this now. And when you come into that place and you become really present in this today, because there's no planning ahead, like I was saying, there's nothing there. And when it took me, like, I balked at that part. I was balking at it because I didn't like that space at all. It was like, I do not know what to do here. I couldn't, I've
Yeah.
been such an active person, and always, you know, doing, and to do nothing was really difficult. So I had to really train myself. And then I noticed my mind kept coming in with old story, and I'm going, why is this continually happening? Why do I keep doing that? And what's happening is you're coming out of lower heart or human heart into higher heart, coming out of lower mind into the higher mind. And so the mind keeps bringing you back into the lower mind and the story and the round and round and round and all the same old stuff we talked in ourself to ourselves, and it's not comfortable.
No, it's definitely not. And I think that it happens when you're kind of upgrading and you're going into your next. It's one of those things that kind of pops in. I was having one earlier in the year that we were talking about, like it's just one of those things that comes in and out, and you sort of get better at being in that uncomfortable space where
Yeah,
we haven't really, been sort of taught how to navigate. And when you can
yeah,
get comfortable at it, but it's so true because we only have no more than this now moment at any given time.
yeah, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
Yeah, it's incredibly potent and powerful. And that's where all the magic lies as well. Being able to access these multidimensional realms and information, galactic wisdom coming in. You have to be so present in your energy and anchored in that way, and just so inhabiting that moment without being in the future or the past or any of it. That's when I found all my really amazing information comes in and get access to more. But
Yeah,
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 absolutely. And it's taking it's taking time and respect to, like, it's quickening for sure,
yeah.
but it's taking time in actually bringing through and releasing all of the things that kept you distracted in the old world. And that there, if you're still plugging in, then it's look at in here, what is it in here that's still, you know, distracting me? What is
Mm,
my distraction? And just, now really there's so many, like myself, I feel there is no story left in my body. But my body, for me, this is not reflecting the newness of that and the release of that old story. It's still, when I look at my body, I go, this is still showing me the same that I've looked at all my life in
mm.
respect to that old story, and it's not that anymore. So
Uh,
there's this the time will be when your body starts really showing the change on the external.
yeah.
Shifts happen inside. There's that understanding, the knowing you've dropped into body, because that's the other thing, that when you're thinking you might be having this experience too, Joanne, I'm sure you have, is that you think about something or something drops in and you think, yeah, that I'll put that together and rah, rah, rah. And in the moment of thinking about it and going through what you would do and how you'd present it or whatever the thing might be, there's such a feeling within the body. And what you're doing is you're already experiencing it. And
Right.
then next minute you're going, hang on a minute, where'd all that energy go? I don't even feel like I want to do that anymore. And
Yeah.
it's been a moment, basically, or a half an hour or an hour. And then next minute you think, actually, I don't even know that I'm going to do that anymore. But you've already experienced it in the form,
Mm,
because we're now in form. We haven't been in there. And
yeah.
now we are, we're walking this here now. And that there is a big shift as well. It can be a little frustrating because you think you're onto something really new and awesome, and next minute it's all gone again, and you think, what? Where did that go? Yeah,
Mm.
it's quite weird.
It is an interesting space to be in because like I just think that really nobody really knows what's going on. And there
No.
nobody actually truly really knows, and everybody's getting different bits of information that could be true for them or
Yeah.
maybe only as much as their consciousness can hold in the space where we're in, anchored in this reality. But at the end of the day, I really like to remind myself, like, really, nobody knows really, truly what the hell is going on here. And I don't think
No.
that,
No.
and if someone sort of says they do, then I'm sort of a bit like, oh, well, I think that's probably one, perspective on everything.
Absolutely that.
And
For
it's
sure.
funny because I think there's so many people, friends and even family members that I know who are somewhat sort of focused and yeah, almost semi-obsessed with like finding out what's going on. Then now I know the truth of this reality. But
Yeah,
to me also is one of those red herrings that kind of trip you up. It's a consciousness trap because you're constantly going to be trying to figure it out, which is so anchored in that mind space, and it's not really
exactly.
where we're meant to be operating anymore.
No, exactly that.
Get out from the linear information available at that level of reality isn't ever going to really suffice, and it's not going to show the full picture. So
No,
then if you're grasping it from anyone else's interpretation of whatever they're bringing through from wherever that is also, then it's coming through someone's consciousness that is going to be impacted, the quality of information coming through, whether we like it or not. Like it's just one of those things. So I
yeah,
find it so interesting when um, people are quite, just constantly wanting to work it out, wanting to work it out, wanting to understand. And now I know what's going on.
yeah,
And it's for me, that's part of the distraction.
it
And
is absolutely that.
seeing in here and what is wanting to unfold within our template. And that's way more exciting and interesting, if you ask me.
It is totally that, absolutely. And that there, like even, just totally that. Like when I'm hearing certain things, I think, where is that information coming from? There's so much infiltration today in everything, and you can look and find an answer on YouTube, say, on something here, and then you can find something else that's going to totally counteract what that's just said. There's all these different perspectives being put out around the one thing on so many things. It's like, I just don't go anywhere near any of it anymore. And all the stuff on Facebook, I'm like, oh my God, I'm reading the same thing written by different people saying different way of putting it, but the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like I think when I look back onto, before the 2019-ish era that we went into for 4 or 5 years, consciousness was bored. I know I remember going, I am so bored. Consciously, we're not getting it. It was like there was a ceiling, there was a cap over. We were not getting anywhere. It was like we'd come to a full state of awareness within and all of that, and there was nothing new showing up. There was no, I was just so bored. And I was like, if this is consciousness in this realm and all of that, then beam me up, Scotty, because honestly, this is so boring. And where's all the new, And then COVID happened and it started flicking a bit of the stuff. And I was like, oh God, here we go. And I got to that point just recently again. It's like I'm sort of in that now. It's like there's nothing new coming in. Everyone's repeating the same thing, same thing, same thing. And yes, we all know basically who we are, what we're here doing, what this is about. So there's still no real juicy newness in any of that information either. It's like we've come to a point where it's now navigating new territory. It's stop regurgitating everything
Yes.
and
Yeah.
allow something new to drop in, and it's only going to come through here. And one of the things that dropped in for me was around, how we get told that there's actually no past life, everything's happening right now, right? And we
Mhm.
get the now being present right now and all of that. And yes, right in this moment, you can experience everything. And I know when I went to Nucleus, um, it was as if being what I had been told God was, where it knew all the consciousness of every living thing on the planet, blah, blah, blah. And
Mhm.
I was that, right? And so I got it. I really could understand it. And without that experience, and this is what I feel a lot of, a lot, what's happening is a lot aren't experiencing. They're
Mhm.
talking, but they haven't actually given themselves the experiences to actually find out. And that again is something that I've always done. I've pushed it, and I've gone through some amazing, incredible experience. I know many people have. I'm not saying I'm the only one. Not in
Mhm.
no way. But what I found and what I feel now too is that when we were talking about past life and there's actually no past life, it's all happening right now. It was like all of a sudden I got the cellular memory thing, and I got it on a level that yes, we store memory in the cells in our body, right? But then I started seeing that every cell was a universe on its own. Every cell in your body is is holding the all of all.
Yeah.
And so when that, I was like, right, so therefore when I'm experiencing, like I was doing a few weeks back, I was sitting, being, and there was a, it was around, it was the 4th of April gateway. And there was a big build up to that. The first, second, and third was like really intense. And then the fourth was a fizzle. And it was like, we did it all before the fourth.
Yeah.
Which was really cool because I knew on a collective level that we'd really done a major thing. We'd really moved timeline. And so what that means for me is that when we move through something and we're hearing people saying about moving through timelines, or we've just shifted timelines and, jump timelines, all that sort of thing, what we're doing is we're collectively moving through a stage where we didn't have to experience this now. We've got it. And we can shift that movement out and we just jump to this. And
Mm.
so that's what I was feeling in that 8-8 and the 4-4 and in that gateway. I knew it was really about what is it that you truly desire to create in now. It was more about the action that you're going to take. So, sitting and being present, and what is the action I'm going to take forward to really step through this doorway of what I really truly want to create in here now.
Mm.
And and so in that I was aware of that, and I'm sitting in there and I'm going, well, I had made a major statement through my biggest love of my life was my ex-husband, and he just passed away. It was only a year ago. And in that passing, since then, I've been sitting with me. Who am I now without this? I'm not a wife to anyone anymore, not a sister-in-law to anyone anymore. There's all these parts of me that were moving on.
Mm.
And in that, I realized that in the present right now, but everything happening in this moment right here, is that I had made a statement, and I do like that, put it like a stake in the ground, that I had said I would never love again because it's too painful, was way too painful. And in looking at that statement came up in the 4-4, and I was like, okay, how do I feel about that statement now? Because things have moved. I've moved things, and I've looking at different ways of looking at things, and knowing them. And what I came to realize was that the love that we term as love here is very wounded love. It's very tainted and wound and pain and suffering and all the things, right? Lots of memory, past memory stuff or experiencing. And so then it was like, okay, so if we're moving into what we could term this new world, one built on true love, our higher being love, our source love, this, light that is love,
Mm.
then what would that look like? And
Yeah.
there was a very clear vision that I was having of a face pushing through this clear film, like a glad wrap, thicker though, and pushing its face through.
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, what is this?" And they're going, "You're ready to birth through you're pushing through the membrane. You're breaking through the membrane." That was the words. And I go, oh, and I was thinking about this, and I thought, oh my God, that's what this 4-4 movement is. We are now birthing ourselves. We're pushing through the membrane. We're actually coming through a doorway that was going to be very potent. And for me, I could feel it was. And so in that there, when I was looking through, it was like I was looking through this membrane. I could see another parallel lifetime that I was having in a relationship that was fully loving and understanding, and two pillars standing together, not all entwined in all this painful caca we've been in. And that there was like, oh my God, I could do that. I could do that now. I feel like this is, why would I not?
Mm.
Why would I not want to experience such beauty? And
Mhm.
so that was, I took the stake out of the ground,
Mhm.
burnt it, whatever I did with it, it's gone anyway. But that there, and when I looked at that, I also realized that that was so again, we come back to the cells, right? And that this is all, every cell in our body has the universal space within it that is the universal, and it has the all in it.
Yeah.
And if we look at that, then that membrane, that vision that I was seeing there, I was looking into a cell that I was in alignment with,
Yeah.
that holds that potential and that vision that I could be.
Mm.
And so within all of our cells, yes, we have the wounding ones because we've been in different experiences, and all the experiences that we've ever had within our own thinking realm, within, you know, how I was just even saying about we might get something drop in and we think this is going to be great and we've got all the energy and we get excited, and the next minute it's all a fizzle, there's nothing in it. That's like dropping into a cellular that
Yeah.
is actually holding that frequency that you've just aligned yourself with. And so therefore it was like that changed a lot for me. It was like, oh my God, I actually get that. That's really, it's not that we have past life. We
Mm.
have experiences within the mental frame of what I feel, storytelling, all the things that we might have put together that are
Mm.
held in the cells
Yeah.
that are different, showing up different ideas or images of what we could if we choose to.
Mm.
It's the potentials within us, if you get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I love that because it sort of also touches on this idea that I talked about in my book a lot, the inside hustle, which is, another of these consciousness traps we get into is we're on this endless healing journey.
Oh God, yeah.
And there's always going to be something, as you brought into the very beginning of this conversation, where you focus on expands and where you are intentionally bringing your energy, you're going to see more of, because that's what the brain does, right? It starts to pick up the patterns of the belief systems that you've got operating, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way.
Really.
And as you so beautifully, in a description that I haven't heard it put like that before just now, in the fact that the cell has, yes, it has this maybe wounding part that could be activated and we could be feeling, or it could be just there. And if we are focusing into more into the potential and possibilities of what is in there, we aren't going to be in energetic alignment with the wounding anyway, because it's oscillating at a different frequency.
That's
And
right.
we're moving into that parallel version of us in reality and everything that's fed into that. So I love that. It's a really cool way to have it represented. And because I do think that there is so much in it. And it's not to say that if you are in a space where you are feeling sick or wounded or something going on with your mental health or any of that, that is meant to be ignored or irrelevant at all, because that's your experience in this current moment. But how and much possibility and potential does it give you, that even though that's your experience, that you could be focusing into these other things that are going to help realign you at where you end up out of that experience, whether it's
Yeah.
body or the mind space or in the emotional space or whatever.
Mm. Because too, if you think about, you know, everyone's sort of on this movement of wanting to get into 5D, right?
Yeah.
And it's that often I say 5G instead of 5D. It's like, yeah. But in the 5D, right? We're not all going to be in 5D. We're not even going to be the sixth dimensional, where we move and shake in different spaces all the time. We're not holding one complete all the time, and then we go into the next all the time.
Yeah.
It's like that. Even our organs are vibrating at different frequencies throughout our body. All the different parts of us are vibrating in different spaces. And
Mm.
so each one, wherever you drop in, they'll say there's a memory in the liver. Okay, what frequency is the liver vibrating at?
Mhm.
So in that there is where we drop into something that was maybe a denser vibrational space and have that wounding stuff going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's coming into alignment with yourself wherever you are,
Yeah.
and that none of it is bad, because we always think, oh, we just want to be happy joy all the time. No, it's not until we deep dive into some of the most ugliest parts of ourselves that we gain the biggest and the best.
And also, I just think it is this experience of contraction expansion that we do
Yes.
experience, because what's that? Like I think you call it a peristaltic or gestalt movement or whatever that creates momentum and pushes us forward.
Yeah.
Not to mean that we have to go into the depths, but it also doesn't mean that, if you are, in a space like you or I, and you do this work and you're doing it with clients and you're showing up, that we also don't go into these moments where we are letting go or releasing deeper layers within the self or whatever it is that wants to be reconfigured or maybe realigned and transmuted into something else, or however that's working within us in the
Yeah.
transformation process. And that is just a part of it. And it doesn't mean like, oh God, now I've gone back to like where it's not that like, oh, chuck the toys out of the car, oh, here I am again, or oh, why is that mental pattern coming back in that is the ghost of the past? Well, it's
Yeah.
sometimes it comes in for a different layer, and it's that spiral, isn't it? Instead of like looking at everything linearly, in
Yeah.
experience. And everything for me too has been direct realization. And
Mm.
some years are more active than others in that. 2017 was a huge year for me. I've had so much coming in. It was all my heart technology stuff, which became the foundation of everything I do. Everything was just like like guns blazing. 2017, there was so much
Yeah.
going on. And then other years, it's sort of like I'm like, what's
I know. Yeah. Gosh, yes.
less active and less incredible stuff coming in. And yeah, in these different spaces. And yeah, I mean, maybe it was that bit where you talked about being the consciousness being bored or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
in those in between spaces. But I think it's so interesting because for me, what I'm really also aware of and noticing is that there's been this predisposition to looking at our journeys, trying to find all this information out about ourselves and who and what we are, and theoretically or cerebrally, as you mentioned, and trying to put all these jigsaw puzzles together. And it has meant that we have spent less time actually just embodying a
Mm.
knowing or frequency of this power and mastery that we already contain.
Yeah.
Is what I feel like potentially the only reason why it isn't unfolding full blasting into, here, there, and everywhere in the cosmos, because our experience has been almost trying to find out how to get it, or why we don't feel like we've got it yet, or this kind of search that we go through, or the rediscovery of ourself beyond the linear understanding of who we were taught to be. And I do feel like that for me at least, people could shortcut that journey so much by actually just starting to focus more on being like, I don't know, maybe I don't know what it is yet. Maybe I haven't had the experience of it, but I know this mastery is within me. All of those lives, all of that expertise in those cells deep within, in the encodement of everything that I am, it is here. It is ready to be operating. And the more I focus into my inner being with my whatever practices I like to do, being in the heart
Yeah.
coherence, and just also sitting in space of the unknown to be able to bring in other information, or reading the natural world and what spirit's telling me from that, or whatever it is, find it that space is a really fertile territory for people to just start operating. And we don't necessarily have to do it the old way that has been done for the last 20 to 50 years on this planet, and these journeys
Yeah.
that we're going through.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I remember years ago, my youngest daughter, she's the girl that, you know, I don't know, something might happen. I'll go, how are you feeling about that? Oh, good. All good. And for me, it would have been a trauma, or it would have been, all the things.
Yeah.
And I'll say to her, but, are you sure? Yeah. And when we talked about that one day, and she said, Mum, I don't feel it necessary to go into that space with it. She's, come in with the awareness of, I don't have to go down that trip. It's not going to give me anything. I'm better to stay here and move this way. And she's really, it's reminded me many times of, actually, I have a choice here. Do I actually need or require to go into that space there and do all the big wah? when actually it could be just an experience again. And what else?
Yeah.
And I remember as a little kid, um, at night going into the most expansive, energetic, and then coming into a pinhead, and out to the most expanded again, and then into a little pinhead. I didn't know what I was up to, but it was definitely something I've never forgotten. It was incredible. And
Mm,
I mean, I thought then we are all that,
mm,
we can be that or this. That, and it is that movement. We're just continually
yeah.
doing this, moving
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. I
The
love that.
breathing, really. It's a breathing. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually. Yeah. Like we are the breath of the universe in a way. And that's
yeah.
happening with every moment that we're here in these physical vessels,
Mm.
connecting the cosmos and the earth. Yeah.
I had an experience the other few weeks ago, and it was right from the moment I woke up, I felt there was a change. I could feel it tangibly in my ether, in me, without around me everywhere. And I was walking differently in the sense that it felt like I was hovering or levitating more than I was actually, but I was grounded, and I could feel that I was earthed in. It was like something's weird's happening here. I'm not sure. I couldn't put my finger on it. Went to town, met a friend for brunch, and I was sitting there, and I was just observing, and I was able to function. Everything was functioning the way I would usually. But from the moment, a 20-minute drive, and from the moment I got in the car and I was backing it out of the garage, and I'm like, whew, this feels like spaceship. like I felt like I was in some other vehicle.
Yeah.
And driving into town, it felt like my wheels weren't touching the tar seal that I was like levitating across along. Again, checking grounding, and I was like, yep, and careful that I was driving, of course.
Yeah.
And it was just like I was trying to figure out what was actually happening. Wasn't seeing anything change around me at that time. And it wasn't until it was after brunch, and then I had to go into do some grocery shop, and I went into our Pack and Save car park, and it was manic. It was the weekend we'd had Easter, and then
Mm.
there was the Anzac Day on the Friday, so it was the Wednesday in between. Was manic. That
Yeah.
there wasn't a park. It's a huge park area, and there wasn't a car park. Everyone was, cruising around waiting for a park to turn up and all the rest. And I just went in, and I only got part way in, and I thought, I'm not doing this. The moment I said, I'm not doing this, because I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get in, might find a part, but then you've got to get in the shop. Everything's going to be so full on. You're going to be queues in the. Oh, I thought, no, I'm not doing it. So, in that statement of I'm not doing this, everything appeared, and my whole field showed up physically.
Mm.
It's never happened like this before. I was a little flipped out by it, I have to say. I had to drive home. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do anything else here today. I'm going to go. Honestly, I did. And I sat down and made a cuppa, and I'm sitting there, and I'm going back into what had been presenting itself for me from the moment I left in that morning. Anyway, here I am in the car park, stating I'm not doing this. And all of my field ended up like appearing in the physical realm here and around me. And I'm way out there, my all encompassing my car and everything. And everything else was outside of it. And I knew in that moment, I'm going, we say this, and I know I've felt it so much over the last few years. I'm in this world, but I'm not of it anymore. I'm in it, but I'm not of it. I'm living my life in here. I'm in accordance to what might be happening there, but I'm not of that anymore.
Yeah.
And this was actually proof. And here it was right there in front of me, around me. I was tripping out in my head. I was like, keep driving, just keep going. Like I had to start. Oh God, it was trippy. And I was like, wow, this is me. I am actually not of this world anymore.
Right.
And I couldn't, I was like, For me, I know that maybe needed to happen. I don't know. I felt it, and for me, I was truly aware of that being how it was. But when it showed up physically like that around me, that was really trippy. But it really showed me again the proof, I suppose, is something that I don't know whether I call in. I suppose we all do in some way, because I'm very trusting. I know with me, there's so much faith and trust in what has been happening through my life, who I am in it. I know who I am in it. And after, like I say, going to Nucleus and that experience, I so knew. And I know
Mm.
I've never doubted again our ability, who we are, and how this works here. And so in that space, man, it was just like proof. Okay, we are actually doing this. We are actually bringing this form, like our being, into this form. We are now walking this world in that way. And it was incredible, I have to say.
Amazing. I love that.
It's a
Yeah.
bit trippy. It did flip me out though. I mentally, like getting my head around it.
Mm.
I've seen it here,
Yeah.
but actually.
Just the physical eyes, sort of like where
Wow.
everything shifted. Yeah.
Yeah, it was big for me.
Yeah. I
For a
mean,
minute.
these things are, I feel like stuff is starting to happen like that in an accelerated path, as we've sort of touched on.
Yeah,
And our experiences are getting even more profound, and just the information kind of dropping in. I know I feel like I'm kind of expanding into a whole different version of me that is very ancient
yeah,
and that has been wanting to come through this doorway, this gateway,
yeah.
for a while, and have probably been in preparation for that over, who knows how long, time space continuum probably. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who knows?
yeah, it
Mm,
feels like many, many pieces coming together. And I have spent many years stepping out of that world of the conditioned, programmed space and
yes.
recreating my life with, inspired by my, divine destiny, desires, all of that kind of thing that,
Mm,
I play around with and think, oh, what is this all about and what am I here to bring forth and bring into knowing and bring into reality that, isn't in existence. Like that's more exciting
mm.
to me than operating from everything that is already.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
the space I feel like we're getting into, which is the really juicy stuff. I mean, I feel like there's just so much of that feels so pertinent in the field
Yeah.
that you're starting to be able to access more powerfully. And wow, buckle up. I think
Totally.
it's just going to be like those kind of experiences. It was kind of like blow your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And another experience, and I will bring these up because I'm sure other people, and I know a friend of mine did. And she it wasn't until I said to her what had happened to me, and then she goes, "Oh my God, that's what must have been happening to me because this happened and it felt, like it aligned." But what had happened was, in moving our field, how I was saying about the template coming through and starting to really structure itself here in the physical.
Yeah.
And I came out of my bedroom and I'm walking down a little way, it's down a hallway, and then, through the lounge into the kitchen. And by the time I got into the kitchen, I'm like, it just felt so strange. And then all of a sudden, I could feel my energy field, my being and me now moving in. It was like I'd concertinaed myself right out, like
Oh,
left myself in the bedroom,
mm,
walked out, and then it was like all of this was coming now to me.
mm,
Hadn't come with me. It was behind me and stretched out. It was the weirdest thing, but it was very like I could see that. I could actually see what was happening with that. And that was weird. That was like, I don't quite know why that was happening, but
yeah.
once I brought that up and put it out there, I had other people go, "Oh my God, I've had that experience just recently too." So I'm not sure whether that was ah, just thinking then or coming in, is that when we have had a time leap, when we've moved a timeline or through a timeline, it's our our beingness catching up to where we've now moved self to. Yeah, I
Right.
can see how that could be that. Not saying it is, but it's probably something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was out there.
I mean, I love this because it's the multidimensional space, which is my
Yeah,
favorite place to
yeah,
play around with and have open up these potential of these experiences, which aren't far-fetched. We are multidimensional beings. And I think
yeah.
some people don't understand what that truly means if you haven't had any experiences like you and I have had as well. And so I love that you're bringing through these real life experiences and just sharing, because who knows who else is having them, and maybe
Mm,
they're a little bit loony. I mean, I know that I've apparently appeared in my mum's bedroom as a hologram in the middle of the night and just showed up as like this giant hologram light being. And she was like, what? Things.
yeah,
Um, so it is, yeah, very, very accessible more than ever, I think. And the more you play around with it, because sort of people say, well, how do you do that? How do you open it up? But we're all so unique in our operating system, I think,
mm.
that what is relevant, or how we are going to, how you will experience it will be different to how I experience it.
That's right.
We've got all these different aspects of our multidimensionality working together to facilitate certain experiences that
Mm,
necessarily aren't going to be the same as anybody else. But I do feel like for me, the keys are being in that present moment, which means you have to be anchored in your heart. You're not in the mind space, because this drops you into just complete deep presence.
yeah,
You are open to the possibilities, and you're just out of that space of any kind of form of the linear rules of this reality. That's the way that I drop in, at least.
yeah,
Even,
yeah,
even amplified by sacred sites or places that you might be drawn to, even just in your local park or down the line somewhere, or what.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah. No,
really.
it's such an interesting time, and I know I was excited to be here right from a little kid. I knew why I'd come in this lifetime, what we were coming in for,
Mm.
and I was a bit impatient to get to this point, whatever that point is. It's like it's moving and shaping itself so quickly now. It's really fast.
I think there are quite a lot of people who are a bit over it and tired as well. And they've been through a lot, and potentially it hasn't changed fast enough, like you're saying, or
Hearing so much of that, yeah,
met the expectation of maybe what's been put out there in the many different channels and YouTube videos and whatever else. It's not really come to fruition, or what have you, that are a bit sort of, like, "Ugh, just what's the point," kind of thing. I've
mm,
noticed a couple of examples of that. And even sometimes, even people who are younger, who are sort of just a bit sort of like lackluster about life, whereas I feel like I'm in the most excited by life than I have ever been, I think, actually.
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and for me, all I see is incredible possibility and potential and expansion and experiences and fun and magic and
Me too.
mystical goodness. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's for me, I
It's,
do find it to be just
yeah.
the next
And
level.
I think it's, I spent a little time being sad around humanity and how there's such a disrespect for life. You
Mm,
know, others' lives, any type of being on the planet, and particularly their own lives in respect to not knowing. I think if everyone really understood who they were, what they were here to do, or just be and experiencing, and the magic that we have, that is the potential within us, it's that I see so many who are so disconnected from that, who are living lives that are just so sad. And
yeah.
honestly, when I did the expo here a few months, oh, last month, and that's what I saw. So
Mm,
many sad people, so many people that were just had no will to keep going on, really. They weren't people that would probably take their life, but they just didn't have any will. There was no excitement, there was no adventure left, there was no enthusiasm. Their nervous systems are so shut down
yeah,
and fried, from survival. And it's a really sad thing.
I agree. What would you say to someone who's experiencing that in their life right now? What would you say is a few steps that they could make me take, or a recommendation of yours about how to get back into connection or back into that level of alignment so that maybe it might shift something on some level of their being?
Mm, yeah, there's so many things really, but one of the main things I'd say is is stop allowing all the distraction, for one. Come back to some stillness and some silence, just silence. And absolutely, as often as you possibly can, get out into nature, be at the beach, be in the bush, go and sit out on your back lawn if that's where a tree is, or even your garden. If there's a place within your own property, you don't even have to go far. I'm sure everyone has lawn, they've got grass out there.
Oh,
Lie your back on the grass. It's like just be and
mm,
allow everything to just move on from you for a moment. And the
yeah.
more often you can do that, the more you will come into a space of knowing within yourself that actually that made a difference. And I'm going to go back to that again. I'm going to do that again tomorrow. I'm going to do that again today. It's that place there, because I know for me, when I get too frantic around what's, the busyness of commitments around clients and different things, I get fried out. I start getting really titchy. I'll get titchy, and then I know it's like, uh-oh. Because it's like, look out. If I'm in that place. Oh, I used to fire it out there to, randomly it might just fire out, and it's like, whoa. And now I know, just take the time and go and be. And I sit even on my porch, there's beautiful palms and gorgeous trees, and it's like I just sit there and commune with nature. And
Mm,
that just brings me back to my heart, gratitude, joy.
mm,
It's where my happy is.
yeah,
And if I don't get that in a balance now, it's more required now today than ever for me.
good.
I used to be able to ride in that manic all the time. It was just life, and I managed it quite well. But now I definitely, I know as soon as I'm starting to get titchy, I know I need to stop and just be for a moment,
Mm,
balance it back up, come back to heart. Because we
yeah,
get, when the busy, we're getting too mental. It's too mental.
yeah,
Just drives us.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
Mm.
And as we sort of start to come to completion, is there anything else that you feel called to share in this moment, or just about everything that's going on, or a particular insight that's been dropping in for you, or a message from council that you worked with last, or when you last met with them, or anything like that?
One of the things that have been, or beings that have been coming through for me, is the Great Mother. She's
Mm,
been really showing up. And for me, she's the birther of all souls. She's the great mother, the mother that has the compassion for every single being on this planet. We know that Gaia, this being here, is also that compassionate being. Um, and what I get from both of them, and I've been doing initiation with ayahuasca, the essence of ayahuasca, who came into presence with a friend who was in Peru doing some journey work with ayahuasca and a shaman for 3 weeks. And ayahuasca took her aside and said, I want you to take me out into the world, basically. And it's a rebirth for healers. And I had had a vision of this. I didn't know any of that, right? And I had this vision, and it connected up. And so with that confirmation as well, she'd already gone ahead with it, but it was that confirmation, and I knew that she was also calling me to it, right? Ayahuasca. And more than that, it was the not more than, but in relation to that as well, was Great Mother came forward for me, and she's asking us all now, male, female, whatever, to become the Great Mother. It's time to bring more compassion and true heart feeling back into our journey here, because we've numbed off, we numbed out, we've you know, put up such barriers, and we've disconnected from so much that was the beauty of us.
Mm.
And the calling, she's calling us back to this, yes, as we might call it, the divine feminine rising, right? And within all of us, and I get that. But for me, it's bigger than that. It's got a completely new, in a sense, story to it. And when Gaia, in connection with Gaia, and a few years back, only a couple of years, the Gaia for me changed, and she turned up like this sassy, really sassy younger version of Gaia. And I went, oh my goodness, who are you? And she goes, Lady Gaia, And I was like, oh my God, this is the new Gaia. This is her, not new, but her vibrant, beautiful, adventurous, gorgeous, loving, excitement for life, sassy as, like really sassy. It was so cool. And that just spurred me, like the energy she gave, and the energy of her herself was just so vibrant. And I thought, this is it. And with Great Mother, it's coming in like, the combination of the sassy, adventurous, I've got this girl, that type of energy, with this most gorgeous compassion and deep love for every being and every soul on this planet. And my body now is just going in this goosey yummy. And it's that I feel that more and more, I feel people are going to, humanity is going to drop more into that, and I'm watching men soften,
Oh, yeah.
watching men who have been standing, in a sense, sort of leading but controlling their place in the family, and with their children and their wives, and all of that, and in community even, and becoming even more and more threat, to community and all of that. And I'm now watching these beautiful men that were very hardened, and all of that defensiveness, and all the, the fight and the anger and all the things just softening. And she's telling me, Great Mother's telling me, that the men will come to this as well. They will become more compassionate and more open, loving, not barricaded up and angry and defensive. And it's such a gorgeous feeling, and it's so different to what we've had to be in this here, because this world, if we sort of look into it, we've come through from a very dark, I believe we've come from the darkness into light. Everyone's like, yes, we are light, and we're bringing that back. Yes, we are. But first there was darkness,
Mm.
and then there was light. And
Mhm.
we've come from that darkness. And if you look at humanity in the way that, definitely the dark masculine, and there's been the dark feminine too, but the dark masculine that's been controlling as such all of this, which we've allowed, then we've come from that now. We're moving out of the darkness.
Mm.
And all of that shadow part of ourselves, yes, individually, but in a mass energetic, we're coming out of the dark. We're coming out of the dark ages. And this now is, yes, we're coming into heart. And I believe that so much. We're breaking open this heart that's been barricaded up for so long. But it is energetically frequency, and it is light. And a lot of people said to me, do you work with love? I said, of course I do.
Mm.
And I said, but light for me is tangible. Love we've tainted. Love's got so many faces to it. Light I can identify. Light I can feel.
Mm.
And we are that. And that is love, yes. But for me, that was the way I worked with it,
Yeah.
through that method, and that, yeah. So yeah, it's definitely that. Great
Oh,
Mother's got her hand in there, and she's bringing us through,
I love that. That's,
calling us to her.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for all of your beautiful sharings. It's been a really beautiful conversation, and I'm really grateful that you came on to share it with me.
Thank you for inviting me. I was so excited to get in the
Yeah,
chat
it's
with
nice to
you.
just show up and see what magic wants to come through. And yeah, and I always, yeah, just trust in that process.
Mm.
And I'm sure a lot of people will want to connect with you. Where can they find you? What do you offer? What's coming up in the next few months, if anything? Or just tell us a little bit about where people can find you.
Okay. A website is just mandyhortonnz.com.
Mhm.
And what's coming up is I've got a trip to the UK and going into Ireland, obviously Scotland as well, and the UK here, and over into Sweden, Norway. And I'm taking my book through a tour over there, and also running workshop that goes with this as a 2-day uh, deep dive, basically into whatever might be showing up, but it's around ancestral patterning. It's clearing out whatever that stuff, integrating, becoming more aware of it, working through those things. But that'll be up and about. That's around October, November.
Amazing. Oh,
So
how exciting.
it is exciting. It's where you stretch yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that's where all that excitement is. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's where life begins. Well, yeah, or life is.
Oh,
So
amazing. Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure if there's anyone over there who wants to tap in, they can get in touch via your website.
yeah.
And I'll put obviously everything about Mandy and how you can connect with her in the show notes. So just do look in the comments below. But yeah, thank you for being here again. And until next time, because I'm sure there will be ultimately a next time too.
Beautiful. I look forward to it if there is. Thanks, Joanna. Much love.
Bye.
Bye.